Hey, it's episode 25 of Bonfire Man.
Here's how Bonfire Man works. I'm locked to specific chunks in the game. I have to interact with everything in my unlocked chunks exactly once. So that means every tree needs to be chopped, every enemy needs to die, every resource needs to be consumed. When I interact with something, it is exhausted. When something is exhausted, that means I'm not allowed to interact with it again. I'm allowed to randomly unlock a new chunk whenever all of the entities in my current chunks have been so exhausted. When I enter a new chunk, I rest at a bonfire, as in the Souls games. Resting at a bonfire refreshes or unexhausts all of the content in previous chunks that I've already been to. Now I have to exhaust all entities in both the old and new chunks to continue to progress. My objective is to unlock every chunk in RuneScape. According to my estimates, I think that's going to take about 10,000 hours to complete. If you're interested in all the specifics, minutiae, minor rules, exceptions, that kind of a thing, there's a Google Doc in the description that lists all of that. Let's go ahead and get to the playthrough.
Okay, so our new chunk is the Isle of Souls. Not a lot of new content there. A bird, really. And I guess I can't do the mithril ore, so we can't call it an immediately cleared chunk. I am going to have to sink the 20 hours to doing it. But we are getting significantly more mining nodes now every cycle. It's quite nice. I'm going to head over there and kind of review what we're looking at. Skull Scepter is continuing to be quite useful here. Gets us pretty close to Edgeville and the teleport. Okay, here we are at the chunk boundary. I'm going to go ahead and cross it here. All right. And guess what I forgot? I'll be right back. All right, let's light the bonfire. And I've got a neat surprise now. Bonfire lit. Big thanks to the creator of the Rest plugin. There is now a plugin that lets you do that. Pretty cool. You can actually rest at the bonfire now. I'm very happy to see it. Not for this series, it just happened to come out. But as soon as I saw people posting about it on the RuneScape subreddit, I got pretty excited. So now we can actually rest. We don't have to cast a teleport spell or do anything else janky. All right, so this chunk has a single bird in it, a bunch of ore, a lot of trees, unfortunately, and an item spawn. I think it's just a chisel. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of all of the mining first.
Hey folks, it's time to review the chunk map and our current objectives. Skip ahead in the timestamps if this isn't your bag. Alright, changes from previous episodes. First, 100% completed chunks. As of the end of last episode, these 3 chunks are now 100% completed. The first one, Barbarian Village, will let us deplete the fly fishing nodes in that chunk. We get to deplete the fly fishing part of the node and the regular fishing rod part of the node once each. It's a pretty significant boost to fishing XP per cycle. The next 100% completed chunk is the Ruins of Uncom. The big advantage here is that we can now deplete the shop stocks in this chunk once per cycle. So these are the items in those 2 shops that might be relevant to this account. The bait packs in this shop mean that we'll never run out of fishing bait, which is really good. The feather packs are going to be crucial for some additional fletching training. We have hundreds of thousands of arrow shafts in the bank right now. These give a little bit of extra XP per arrow shaft. The bowls of water are very nice. Previously, we're only getting a couple bowls of water per cycle. We need these to make stews, and it's at the point where I can't really risk dropping the empty bowl after eating the stew, so this will maybe smooth things a little bit. The 10 bronze bars are really helpful for Giant's Foundry. That's almost an entire half an alloy. We get even more feather packs from the Shantae shop. The empty bucket packs I'm probably not going to have to use, but it's nice to have in case we ever need buckets for something. And the ropes. There's 20 ropes in this shop. That might matter. And the final 100% completed chunk here is Lumbridge Swamp East, which I've been talking about for many episodes now. I marked this complete too early, and to make up for it, I'm going to be skipping the Shooting Star and depleting the fishing nodes in this chunk for about 4 cycles until I make up for the times that I depleted them in error. Next up is quest blocked chunks. No changes here, same quests from the last couple episodes. After that, we've got skill blocked chunks. This is almost the same, except the new chunk we just unlocked, the Soul Isle Mine, is also skill blocked. We have to have 55 mining to be able to mine the mithril ore in this chunk. This is a pretty important one to 100% because there is a shooting star that lands in this chunk, and that's another massive increase in mining XP per cycle if we're able to mine it to depletion. Still no item blocked chunks at the moment. And then finally, chunk blocked chunks. These are chunks that we can't complete because we need to roll adjacent chunks first. There are still some trees that we can't reach around the Soul Wars lobby. We did roll one of the 3 chunks necessary to complete this one, but we have to get the one to the west and the east now. And I think that's it for the overview. I hope you enjoy the episode. Let's go.
This is like the ideal mine for an account like mine. It has like everything in it and tons of unnecessary, flavorfully placed ores. Like no one's actually going to mine here for real, but I guess maybe this iron spot would be okay for power mining iron. But this is really nice to actually be able to mine all of this. All right, finished up the mine. Had to leave the bank partway through. Pretty decent though. Got a 1150 mining XP just from this place. I got to track down that bird that I need to murder, and I need to chop down all these trees. I'm going to start working on that now. Guess there's a chicken that wanders into this chunk from next door. I'm going to try to leave that alone so that's not on my list of things. Basically pick the worst possible day to start a chunk cycle. Today is Tuesday, so there's a patch tomorrow morning. It's going to wipe everything out. I'm going to try to minimize like anything that involves PDM. Just try to work on chopping trees. Once I'm done with this, I am going to go, once I finish this new chunk, the Soul Isle mine, I'm going to go quickly do the Draenor Agility course because I'm very close to a level up, and I want to make sure I get that done before I get another XP random. Alright, I'm going to murder this bird. First ever bird killed on the account. Fortunately, this isn't the only thing stopping me from considering this an immediately complete chunk. There's also the mithril ore that I can't mine yet. So there are a bunch of trees here that I physically can't access. I can't get to this one. I can't get to any of these guys down here. I'm going to unmark it. Probably can't get to anything behind this building. I'm going to go ahead and grab this chisel. So I think this is actually significantly fewer than the projected 82 trees because most of them are just not accessible, right? I can't get here either. Yeah, and so I think that's all I can do. I can't get to these trees over here on the hill. Maybe I can from the other side. I'm going to try going all the way on the other side just to see, just to be 100% sure. Okay, so there are in fact some extra trees around the back here, but I went ahead and grabbed them. All the trees are done for the Soul Wars lobby. Knocked those out while I was here, and also for Soul Isle Mine. So we are done with the newest chunk in 24 minutes. It's time to go do everything again. I'm going to start, probably should go ahead and get my zeal out of the way. That's right here, the mini game. If I can get enough zeal, I'm definitely going to be able to get the ectoplasmator this cycle, but depending on where the math lands in terms of zeal earned, I might also be able to get a Spoils of War, which that is potentially massively impactful for this account. Like, a Spoils of War could drop hundreds of coal, and hundreds of coal absolutely changes everything here. So I am going to go ahead and try to gear up and do some Soul Wars. Remember, our objective is to get, as soon as we pass 60 zeal earned, we have to stop doing Soul Wars for the cycle. This is easily the best game of Soul Wars I've ever personally had. I've buried 28 bones so far, offered lots and lots of soul fragments. I might end up getting 60 points here. If I do, that's the only game I can do. I can't cheese that. Alright, we're done. I only got 46 zeal despite doing 39 bones and 28 sacrifices, but alright, I guess that means I can keep going. Maybe you get way more points for fighting the avatar or something. Yeah, so I'm allowed to get 14 zeal in the next run. I'll probably end up getting more than that. I guess I could also get unlucky. It's happened before. Oh shoot, I missed running in by a split second. Bummer. Alright, well, since I screwed that up, I'm going to go ahead and buy my stupid ectoplasmator. Buy. Okay. New collection log item, ectoplasmator. Wonderful. I don't know if that does anything inside of Soul Wars for the ghosts you fight in there, but I guess I'll bring it just in case. No, it does not. Okay. Now everything can go into Spoils of War. I guess you could also argue putting it to XP, specifically Prayer XP, but I think Spoils of War are the way to go. It's completely crazy loot table. I'll see if I can pull it up in the loot tracker here while we wait. Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like loot lookup only shows the dragon equipment that can drop from it. Let me check elsewhere really quick. Okay, so there's a fairly decent chance to get an okay coins drop, anywhere from 2,000 to 60,000 coins. Can get 4,000 to 6,000 noted pure essence. So if that drop ever happens, we're basically set on pure essence for probably the rest of the account. I mean, if I'm continuing to mine the Pure Essence mine, I'm never going to have to worry about overage, given how little rune crafting I'm allowed to do. 30 to 60 noted lobster, swordfish, and sharks. 150 to 300 blood, death, nature, and soul runes. Sadly, law runes are not included. That would be crazy game-changing if it was. 200 to 400 adamant or runite bolts or arrows, either of which would be a pretty big deal. 150 to 300 coal. That's the big drop. That's the one I'm really praying for. If we get that, that's absolutely massive for the account. 80 to 100 noted mithril ore is also a pretty huge deal, but less of a huge deal without the coal to actually smelt it. Uncut rubies and diamonds. 500 to 600 soul runes. A rune full helm, a rune plate body, and rune plate legs. 4 to 8 noted runite ore. Everything else doesn't really matter, but that stuff I just listed, basically anything from the drop table would be good. And we could potentially get really unlucky and roll the junk table, which is like 1 soul rune, 1 cabbage, 1 bones, but everything else rocks. Alright, 32 zeal on the second time. That is enough to get a single Spoils of War, which is what I'm here for. And then after that, we should be able to get about 2 per cycle, give or take, depending on how much zeal we exceed here. Alright, buying my first ever Spoils of War. Come on, big bunny, give me some coal. Well, I got 92 mithril ore, which is cool. Torch soul that I can't do anything with, and I don't really care about the lobsters. I guess I can cook them later. This is going to be great if I can get that coal drop next time. So maybe next cycle, but still pretty exciting stuff. I'm going to get back to working on chopping trees. Let me go run the agility course in Draenor real quick. I have some thoughts that I need to talk about for Draenor, so I'll bring them up when I get there. Okay, so I'm here in Draenor about to do the Draenor agility course. I encountered this last cycle where a Mark of Grace spawned after we completed a lap, and I couldn't go pick it up, right? Because I can only do 1 lap at a time. And part of the Bonfire Man philosophy is to do as much content as possible, so not getting the graceful outfit I think is contrary to the Bonfire Man philosophy. We can get it really slow, but it shouldn't be impossible for us to get Marks of Grace. And the only way to get Marks of Grace is to do multiple laps back to back. So how are we going to make that work? I think I'm going to go ahead and tie it into my chunk completion system, that once a chunk is completed that contains a rooftop course, instead of only being allowed to do 1 lap of that rooftop course, I can now do that course until I get a single Mark of Grace, finish the lap on which I got the Mark of Grace, and then I'm done with it for that cycle. That way we can at least extremely slowly get Marks of Grace over time. That's not going to apply to Draenor right now. I still can't pickpocket the Master Farmer, and I still am not able to do a Wise Old Man task.
Hey, Future Marsh said real quick, that's a mistake, obviously. The Draenor Agility course takes place in North Draenor, not South Draenor, and I have completed North Draenor. Fortunately, a Mark of Grace doesn't spawn after my first lap, so I realized this later in the episode. Come back and do the remaining laps until it spawns.
And I don't think it's going to matter for Al-Kharid Palace? Actually, it might. Yeah, because once we finally unlock the course in Al-Kharid Palace, we'll be done with that chunk. So once we get to Al-Kharid Palace, I'll be able to go for Marks of Grace. For now, any Marks of Grace that spawn, I just gotta let them go. Unless if I get lucky and they spawn and then I fall off an obstacle, I'm still allowed to restart the course to complete it. But let's go ahead and do this course and get an agility level up here. Okie doke, here comes agility level 11. Now scale the Falador Northeast Wall with a Mithril Grapple, which maybe actually, that might matter. I could conceivably roll this chunk. Yeah, I could conceivably roll this chunk, and I think I can get around there in this chunk without having to be in the northern chunk. That could get me into Falador way sooner, because otherwise I have to roll multiple chunks to get into Falador. Now, that requires me to actually make a Myth Grapple, which, let me double check what all goes into that. So it's a Myth Grapple tip at 59 smithing, plus a Mithril Bolt at 59 fletching. Oh my goodness, I have Mithril Bolts, but it's an unfinished Mithril Bolt, isn't it? Okay, I still need 59 fletching to attach the Mithril Grapple to the bolt, even though I have bolts in the bank. All right, I'll save those bolts. The reason I'm thinking about this greatly impacts this chunk's viability if we roll it. Right now, if we roll it, it sucks really bad. It was like rolling a Draenor Manor chunk before we could actually get inside. But if we're able to roll it once we have access to a grapple, then that changes everything. I'm wondering if there are decisions I need to make differently to make sure that I get to 59 fletching. I have a couple Dwarven Stouts. It's only a +1 smithing boost, but I should be able to, after doing a little bit more Giant's Foundry, get to 58 smithing, which would let us boost to 59 smithing, which would let us make the grapple. Attaching it to the bolt's going to be a little bit harder. I can get a good chunk of fletching XP if I dunk a ton of my money into buying feathers, but I can't really afford to do that. This is difficult from a theory crafting perspective. What is the chance of me rolling this Falador chunk? I should look that up. 1 in 25, which could happen, but it's not that likely. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to completely change my strategy right now around getting that chunk, but I suppose if we roll it, any money that I'm sitting on, I might just try to dump into fletching to get as much fletching XP as humanly possible. One of the things I mentioned working on was making more unstrung bows to sell for money, just so I can get more money to buy the costume room, which I can do now. So I'm going to work on that real quick. At fletching level 50, maple short bows can now be made. Might matter now that I can roll a chunk with maple. Might use some of my free daily low alchemy charges from my Lumbridge Ring 1. I think that's a little bit more money than selling it to the shop, but I'll have to double check. There's fletching 51. Almost out of logs, so I'm not going to be able to do much more here. Comes 52 fletching. We are now halfway to 59. Doesn't feel great, but could be possible. We'll see how much money I make from selling all these unstrung bows. I'm just trying to make a mix of them so I can hop efficiently when I go to sell them. Turns out all my charges get me about 1,920 GP from using the free low-level alchemy from this ring. All right, I just finished spending some time tagging things in my bank that I think I can make money off of, so I'm going to leave things behind that are needed for clues. Just trying to generate as much money as I possibly can, while leaving behind things for clue scrolls where necessary. All right, got an inventory full of junk to sell. Just going to sell little bits of it with each hop. We'll see what we end up getting to here. All right, finished selling everything. Ended up with 48k GP, which is pretty good. That about pays for the costume room. Close to being able to pay for the chapel as well. I feel like I may as well go ahead and do some construction here. I'm going to take this money while I'm up here in Varrock and buy planks. All right, got 1,440 construction XP, which is the most I can get in a trip. Should be able to do a couple more trips and just barely make it to 45. I do need to take a break, though. I'm probably not going to continue playing before the reset. So here's the XP totals pre-reset. Mostly just fletching stuff, chopping some trees, doing stuff in the new chunk, the one bird we killed, and the spoils of war drop.
Okay, so it's Wednesday morning, and there was no update. I must have miscalculated. I guess the Tombs of Amascut is coming out soon, Raids 3, so that's probably affecting the schedule. I'm just going to continue then. You'll notice I have a new microphone right now. It might not sound very good, so I'm going to try to record in short bursts so I can go back and listen to it. If it's really bad, I'll redub it later. It's probably just going to sound different for a bit. So I think before I start woodcutting in earnest, I'm going to get all of the mining done. And I think I mentioned this already, but I will be skipping the Shooting Star and fully depleting the fish nodes in the Lumbridge Swamp West chunk, or I guess East chunk, for 4 more cycles to make up for me doing it a little bit too early, not really realizing how fish nodes worked. But we can do everything else normally. We can still mine everything once, for example. Okay, so I completely misspoke earlier when I mentioned... I have my rule for agility, right? That I can continue to do the agility course until I get a Mark of Grace. Completely forgot that this chunk is complete. For some reason, I was thinking of Draenor Village, which is not complete. I need to be able to pickpocket a master farmer. But I can absolutely do that now. So I'm going to head back to Draenor Village and go ahead and keep running laps until I get that 1 Mark of Grace. So this is 1 Mark of Grace per cycle going forward. Also, I should have done this sooner, but I'm going to wipe out the stuff that I don't need to do anymore, because I'm not going to be touching any of those trees, or bothering with this rat, or bothering with any of the wheat. I was just scrolling through the list, reminding myself of which places I still had to mine. I got to Ruins of Uncon, I looked below North Draenor Rooftop. Didn't I mark that complete? I didn't, because I was looking at the complete wrong section. Okay, so we can only run this until a Mark of Grace drops. We'll see how much XP we get in the process. This is obviously going to be a pretty significant increase in possible agility XP per cycle, but it's still not going to be very good compared to what a real account would be doing in terms of getting Marks of Grace. But we might actually be able to get a couple agility levels now, since XP really matters. This makes getting level 10 agility a massive breakpoint for the account, since just having this thing that we can repeat until we get a Mark of Grace drop is a really big deal. I'm going to hit agility 12 here. Agility level 12. Stepping stones in the Karamja dungeon whenever we get it. Oh, looks like the Mark of Grace spawned. That was just a few laps in, so I'm going to try to show on the recording whenever the Mark of Grace spawns, you know, that no shenanigans are happening here. And then we can also track it based on how many are in my bank. The rule is I can pick it up and then I can finish the lap to get out of the course. I don't have to like teleport out the moment I pick up the mark. And I think this is, I mean, I'm already going to do every single agility course in the game, but this is going to make the agility courses, the rooftop courses that have bad Mark of Grace spawn rates better, which is cool. All right, first ever Mark of Grace. Very cool. Yeah, and I believe that already spawned before I climbed this, so this is literally the only way for me to have gotten to ever get Marks of Grace on this account. So yeah, 485 agility XP instead of 120. You know, it's more, but it's still not very much per cycle. All right, I'm going to head back home so I can go to the Al-Kharid mine, so I may as well do some construction training while I'm doing that. All right, that's our second oak trip done. 2,880 construction XP. I still need 1,537, so one more full inventory of oaks will not get us there. We should get it shortly after that. I'm gonna get a mining level up here really soon. I think it's gonna come in on this gold. Level 50 mining. Very cool. I can't do anything with any of this. I can do the size 5 stars, but not yet. Not until I pay my dues for my mistakes. Eventually I'm going to reach a point where I don't feel the need to report to you every time I use a law rune to teleport to Varrock, but it's still special right now, damn it. I just did my last bout of mining. I'm getting about 5,300 mining XP per cycle now without the shooting star, so that's actually pretty good. The shooting star adds another 15k or so on top of that if I get lucky and people don't show up and mine it to oblivion really quickly. So this is about what we'll be getting for the next 3 more cycles. We'll see 51 mining, but we're not going to get anywhere near 55 for Mithril until we get shooting stars back, I think. Okay, all mining done. Now begins the long, slow process of chopping all the trees. I guess I'll start here. As good a place as anywhere to start. Oh my god, a maze random. This never happens. Let's go. It's my second ever for the account. This could be huge depending on what we get. Let's see what we get here. 698 iron arrows. 24 mithril ore is pretty good too. Less good because of the spoils of war, but that's great. I can actually train ranged now again. So I'm trying to save my higher tier ammunition. Perfect timing. All wood cutting nodes and mining nodes are complete. I'm about 8 hours into this cycle. It's taken a long time. I do use fungibility for the Drainer Manor chunk just because I've discussed it already. I chopped 401 trees there. I get 401 logs, then I move on. Now I get to move on to PVM, and we'll see what we get. Oh my gosh, it's a beekeeper random. Second one ever. All right, I think I need to get all of his pieces to start getting flax, but if I get flax from this, I would be very happy. All right, sadly, I got the beekeeper's top, but I gotta get 2 more, and then I'll have everything I need. Past 55 ranged. This was where I was planning to stop earlier, but I think I'll keep going until I run out of iron arrows. I may as well. Well, I'm a bit of a dummy. Last cycle, I did not go for the herrings in Draenor or in Al-Kharid. For some reason, I just assumed I could only do that from the Lumbridge Swamp ones. Just goes to show how infrequently I've done this. So I'm going to fish herring from both of these. I'll go ahead and add a task to Al-Kharid as well. Say la vie, that fishing XP is lost. About to hit 56 ranged. I think 57 is the important one for a max hit increase, at least with the iron arrows. Like I said, I'm going to keep going until I run out of arrows. I've made some good progress with the stack I got from the maze random. About to hit point 62. There it is. Hit points 62. The pop-up got instantly dismissed. Not even my fault this time. So working through my chunks here, I gotta head back to Lumbridge, so I'm gonna do another round of construction training. Not gonna quite hit 43, but I will get it on my next trip. Yep, I am all out of planks, and I need 97 XP to 43. So when we come back with regular planks, I might try to bring my money to build the chapel and start using that. I don't know if it's going to make sense to use the chapel with big bones, for example. I'd have to use a lot of Marintil. I do have 30 clean Marintils from doing Sorceress's Garden, but I'm wondering if I should try to save those for offering, say, dragon bones or something. We'll see. It's not particularly urgent for me to do any prayer training at the moment. I've got nothing to work toward, but something to keep in mind going forward. Okay, got to go back to Lumbridge, can restore my prayer and stuff. I'm currently working through the Stronghold of Security to get my construction level. I guess I should bring money too. Go ahead and get this room built, get it out of the way, you know. There it is, construction 43. Can make a teak larder and an alchemical chart. Can't do anything with either of those, but I can boost to 45 now and build a chapel. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna break the rules of having a nice 3x3 house with one line on the outside to get faster load times, because I'm not gonna be traveling here often enough for the load times to matter. All right, making tea, boosting +2. And then buying a new room here. Chapel. Done. Cool. Oh, it's a huge expense that I'm probably not going to get to use for some time, but I'm glad to have it built at least. Well, I'm a dummy. Not only did I not bring the resources to build the altar or the torches, I also forgot to bring nails for my regular planks. So I'll have to do another teleport here soon. Oh no, I knew I was forgetting something. Completely, I'm already 15 Uncos in here and forgot to bring my new ectoplasmator. So some of that prayer XP is forfeit. I'm going to leave and go get it now that I'm thinking about it. But I'm going to have to add like a reminder in the tracker or something. I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to mark them with a ghost icon instead of a skull icon. Back on Onkos, I just got a kill and it was 12 prayer XP, so not a huge loss. Probably not worth me putting so much time into getting the ectoplasmator. Probably could have gotten a bunch of spoilers of war first, but maybe it'll add up over many cycles. We'll see. Making a couple steel bars real quick to bring into the POH to finish out making it my chapel. I guess while I'm here I should go ahead and just do all of my smelting because this is a better furnace. All right, working through the Edgeville dungeon, out of resources, need to teleport home to get some prayer back. I'm going to go ahead and do some construction while I'm there. All right, drinking this tea, building this altar. I think I only need 2 steel bars. If I need more, I'll have to make them next cycle. Okay, yeah, it's just the one. So this is officially ready. Oh, and I can use that to get my prayer back. I didn't even think about that. Maybe I'll change my layout here soon so that that's a more convenient place. I guess I could come here to restore my prayer and have a skull scepter on me to get back. All right, that's all the planks I brought. 5712 construction XP. I don't think there's anything realistic that I'm going to hit with construction for a very long time. I still don't get very much XP, and I think the next time I care is like another 10 levels, so I have to double the XP we've gained. I'm still going to go ahead and do it, but I might not report every trip anymore, just because there's so much less to talk about. I just got my first ever ensouled demon head. That's kind of cool. And a steel battle axe, which is nice for Giant's Foundry. Just hit strength 66. Got a max hit increase. I think I'm going to switch to attack here in a second. Let me finish up this mammoth first. Well, I did attack for 1 mammoth and then remembered that I need to keep going on strength for another 3 levels in order for the max hit increase to apply to other attack styles. So I make this mistake every single time. We'll be on this until strength 69. Nice. Also should mention, since I'm talking anyway, I got another acorn. So once I get those secateurs, we're going to go to town on farming XP. Got a good chunk of these now. Also got my first ever prayer potion, which is precious. I don't know when I'm going to use this, how I'm going to use this. I'm going to have to save it, though. It's going to have to be for, like, Obor or Bryophyta or something. Because I have 1 dose, and that's it. Got a pretty bad run for Earth Talismans here. This is my second to last one. I thought about holding on to it to make more lava runes, but... Alright, Runecraft 33. 4 air runes, if we ever get that air altar. 2 levels to go until we can do what lies below. Really hoping that we get into the abyss before we just naturally hit 35, but at this rate I feel like we're going to hit 35 first. Alright, I'm going to be killing one of these ghosts, and it's probably going to give me like 3 prayer XP. And the ectoplasmator's going to not feel super worth it. 5 prayer XP. Outstanding. Yeah, so I get like 15 plus 12 times 32 prayer XP from the ectoplasmator. I'm just glad I got it. I would have been thinking what if I hadn't have put the time into it, and I don't have to think about it anymore. It can all go into Spoils of War. All right, nearing the end of things here. Pretty much just have Al-Kharid stuff left to do, but I'm going to teleport home to get there, so I'm going to quickly do some construction training. Am I starting next cycle, now that I have this altar that I was working toward, stop building regular plank things, at least for a while? They're barely worth any XP. I guess if I have the law runes for it, I should probably go ahead and still do it, but it really is very middling compared to what I can get from oak logs. About to hit 35 thieving, but 35 thieving. 3 more levels to go, and that opens up quite a bit for us with master farmers. Big one after that is going to be guards. All right, we are done except for Giant's Foundry. I'm going to do my Giant's Foundry real quick. I'll report as we go. Once again, it looks like there are 3 swords I can make, so I'm just going to evenly distribute everything again. All right, here's our first sword. Close to 5,000 and 10k. Pretty good. Wow, Broadlight is the worst commission I've ever gotten by far. Fortunately, I have some slightly better molds here, but that's terrible. 10 and 18? Wow. Yeah, Wiki says Broadlight is the worst possible commission. Yeah, definitely the worst sword I've ever done. 3,000 smithing XP, 6,240 coins. Hopefully we'll get a little bit better on the last one here. Broad heavy. Yeah, 26 is more like it. Alright, here's the end. Let's turn this guy in. That's more like it. 6,330 smithing XP, 12,000 coins. Did not get a smithing level that time around. Guess that's just with the territory now, unfortunately. Let's sum up the chunk. Let's see here. Gold tracker. Just gonna do a slow scroll. I'll call something out if I notice it. Didn't do the shooting star and lumbered swamp beast. This is makeup chunk 1 of 4. So after 3 more, I'll go back to doing that and the herring since I did it too early. Pretty good deal on the whole in terms of completion there. Here's the loot tracker. There's actually a handful of mistakes in here. You'll notice I over pickpocketed warriors. This should be 11, not 12. I think I called out a couple ones earlier as well. Goblins, and I think maybe I overkilled men as well. Yeah, overkilled men. So next cycle, I'm going to take that opportunity to just zero everything out, including any extras that I killed that wandered in out of the chunk boundary. Unless if I'm specifically planning to kill those like the Ents, I just want to be able to do my counts more easily and not have to remember, oh yeah, there was that one time that I killed an extra man once per cycle for 10 cycles. Extra cow too. All right, that's loot. Here's supplies. Doing okay on supplies so far. It's nice to actually see XP all in one place. I haven't had a computer crash. I haven't had a power outage. That is actually all of the XP from this chunk. I managed to keep RuneLight up the whole time. Part of it's because they skipped the Wednesday update because of Tombs of Masket coming out. So I don't know if you're going to get to see this again for some time, but it looks quite nice. See total XP gains, 213k XP total gained. Showing you what's going on here. We're going to be getting way more agility XP from now on. I'd say probably around 500 is what to expect going forward, which means we might actually get within boost range of the Al-Kharid course not too long from now, which would be very, very excellent once we can do that. Farming, I'm actually sitting on a decent number of seeds for farming, but I'm waiting until I get secateurs. I want to try to plant trees, since those give a static amount of XP, and get my farming as high as possible from that so that we get more yield from the other plants that we have. So secateurs, I could get it from any number of chunks that we could roll, or farmers could just drop it at like a 1 in 128 or something. Getting close to 35 runecraft. It will not be next episode, but I think it may be the episode after that, depending on how many talisman drops we get. That will let us do What Lies Below. We'll be able to craft chaos runes, which will be nice. Yeah, we're already at the target for construction. I mean, we've got many more targets for construction, but I don't see us getting anywhere near them for an extremely long time. Got a max hit increase on strength, very close to a max hit increase on range. I'll probably finish that up with the handful of arrows that I have remaining next cycle. I'm going to stay on strength until 69. Nice. And then we'll go back to catching up attack and defense. Let's look at the bank really quick. First ever Mark of Grace. We've got the active plasmator, raw lobsters, and tortoise seeds from Spoils of War. Kitten grew up into a cat. I actually got my first jug of wine, interestingly. That came from pickpocketing the wine stall, or stealing the wine stall. Beekeeper top and Soul Demon Head, this very precious 1 prayer potion. And then these 4 grimy snapdragons actually came from Evil Bob Random, the Prison Pete version of it. So let me clean those up really quick. All right, here's the slow scroll through the bank. Sold a lot of extra crap this time. Have a really nice stack of mithril ore, but we're going to have to get that coal drop from Spoils of War. As soon as we get 1 coal drop, it's going to be a big deal. I'm going to go to town on Giant's Foundry that cycle. Enjoying the herb tab. I don't think we're going to see Taverly for probably maybe 1,000 hours at the rate we're currently churning through stuff. But whenever we get there, it is going to be a field day. Really looking forward to it. Yeah, so it looks quite good. I already made the save here so we can compare. So we're going to do compare saves, end of chunk 33 to end of chunk 34. You can see my net. I actually did go net down 2 law runes this cycle. I just got unlucky on drops. A lot of these minuses you're seeing here are me selling things to get enough money to build that chapel. I don't know that I'm going to use the chapel anytime soon, to be honest, but needed to get it out of the way, and it's nice to not have it looming over my head as an upcoming cost. This is all crap that I sold to the general store or low-alked with my ring. Yeah, that's the bank summary. And then last thing here, see the live split timer. This took us 20 hours, 35 minutes, so only 10 minutes more than the last cycle, but bear in mind that I didn't mine that shooting star, and that's usually at least an hour if I'm able to get one. So total time was so far is 14 days, 6 hours of total playtime across all cycles. I think that's everything I wanted to show you. I guess here's the random event history. Haven't gotten anything since the genie, which was a while ago. Yeah, I think that's everything there is to mention. So let's roll a new chunk. Okie doke, here's the chunk picker. I'm just going to review new stuff. So down here, this is the chunk we just rolled. This would be nice because I guess there's sand crabs. I don't know if they have any interesting drops, but there's maple trees, and that would be our first access to maple, which might matter. This has a pink die roll on it, and I made it pink to remind myself to comment on it. So this place, his only content we've seen before: birds, chickens, cows, cow calves, regular trees. But there is, in fact, a big fishing net spawn here, and I don't have access to a big fishing net yet. So I think my argument on that is that it doesn't count as new content. It would be double dipping if it counted as new content. It would be new content if getting access to that net would allow me to actually go use it somewhere, but there are no big fishing net locations that I have access to yet. So since I wouldn't be able to do anything with that, I would say this is a standard vanilla reroll chunk. I think I still want this chunk the most, the Edgeville Ditch, for Into the Abyss. It just unlocks an enormous amount of runecraft content, and the sooner we can get it, the better. I'm actually really sad that we haven't rolled it yet. I feel like I'm missing out on Temple of the Eye XP every single cycle. Would like to get Paterdomus so we can do Priest in Peril and get to Mauritania. And now I really want this South Feldor farm chunk for lots and lots of reasons that I think I've detailed previously. So without further ado, let's roll it. Come on. I kind of had some duds here, so a good chunk would make me very happy. I don't think that's good. Yeah, I have a thumbs down for that. Shantae Pass. Never killed desert wolves before, or Shantae guards, or Ugthonkies. I already have access to a Shantae Pass shop because of the Ruins of Unka, but I guess I can start the tourist trap, but I can't come anywhere close to finishing it. Okay. There's some clue steps here. I can get to the Calphite Cave. Okay, this actually is... I should have recategorized this thumbs down. This is not a thumbs down chunk. Because that is my current Slayer task, is Calphites. And I'm allowed to use this cave, because this is a Slayer task only cave. So I was bummed when it rolled, but actually no. That's actually going to let me... It's going to be interesting. This is the first time I've unlocked a Slayer task only cave, so obviously I can only kill stuff in there if I have a Slayer task. So I'll try to kill one of everything in there. I don't know if that's going to clear the task. There are a good number of Calphites from different level tiers in there. But the ability to get more Slayer XP is good. We want to get enough to be able to eventually fight the wall beasts. So yeah, I'm not mad about this. This is pretty good. I don't think any of the other drops here are terribly exciting, but this certainly is. So yeah. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next time with the Calphite Cave. We'll just say that's really what we're looking at here in this chunk. And about 19 hours of stuff you've seen before. And if we keep moving fast enough, we keep doing these, maybe I'll clear some more chunks and make more things optional as we go and be able to do this quite a bit faster. Hey folks, I signed off a little prematurely there because there's some stuff I wanted to show you for my tracker spreadsheet. I haven't really done an update on this in a little while, so let's do one. So first thing here, you can see on the right, I have this separate loot logger plugin, which saves all of my loot for all time. And I can see, for example, how many total goblins I've ever killed on this account. 2,852 for what it's worth. So this is part of the way that I sanity check that I've been doing all of my counts correctly. I have a loot logger target spreadsheet, which you can see here. And every time I roll a new chunk, I add the new counts for enemies to that area. So as we go to the right here, it starts to scroll further down than you can see, just to kind of show you moss giants, hill giants. You can see the counts are increasing for each cycle, each and every time. Yeah, all the way until chunk 34 here, which is the one we did the most recently. So what I'm able to do is I'm able to total those counts up every single cycle and then compare those to the total that I have in my loot logger. So I'll show you my totals tab. This is what this guy looks like. So you can see up there on the right, actual kills for goblins, 2852. That's coming from the loot logger plugin. Expected kills is adding all of those chunk cycles together. And this is giving me back an excess of 3 goblins. So overall, I killed 3 more goblins than I should have from killing goblins that wandered over chunk boundaries and that kind of a thing. This has fluctuated up and down throughout, obviously, but I'm reporting on it now because I want to spend next cycle getting all of these to 0, preferably. If you see the excess as black here, that means that it's 0, that I've killed exactly the right number, that my actual amount matches my expected amount. So in general from this list, most of these aren't that big of a deal. I have killed a surprisingly higher number of men. I mean, it's 10 extra men out of 730 killed. That's mostly from them wandering over, say, the chunk boundaries in Al Kharid before I had the Al Kharid Palace unlocked. Giant frogs were before I had Lumbered Swamp East and only had Lumbered Swamp West, right? Zeal is something I'm tracking how much zeal I would be getting if I could target and get exactly 60 zeal per cycle, but I can't. But right now I'm just, if we get an excess, we get an excess. It's a cool quirk of my rules for PvP minigames. The Ent here was an intended kill. I need to find a way to like track. This isn't part of my available chunks, but it's technically an enemy that I can reach, and it's an enemy that I want to kill, either to give myself credit and say that I've done it before, in the case of that wilderness chunk, so that when I roll the Ent chunk, I can immediately roll another one. I don't have to light a bonfire. Or I could conceivably see us rolling a chunk that's right next to a really interesting chunk that has a really interesting enemy where I want to pull the enemies through the chunk border. So I should come up with some formal way to track this. This is currently the only enemy that's like that. Everything else is quite clearly in my own chunk. So yeah, my reason for showing you this is that next cycle I'm going to kill 10 fewer men, 2 fewer women, 2 fewer imps, 9 fewer giant rats, 12 fewer giant frogs, and so on. Because I want to get these counts down to 0. It'll make it easier for me to track. I don't have to keep remembering, oh, there was that one time forever ago that I killed some extra men that wandered over a junk boundary. I just want these to be zeroed out, so it's easier for me to keep track of when I do make a mistake and have to fix it the following cycle. Since I'm in here, though, I may as well show you some of my other tabs. I think I've already shown the construction tab a couple times. Let me clear the filter on this. So this is complicated, but basically in this cycle column, I will type some text if there's something blocking me from building that object. If it uses basically anything other than planks, I tend to not build it. So if I reapply my filter here, I'm just going to look at things that are blank, right? And this would show me what all I have to craft for that cycle. I do still allow limestone bricks, but I tend to not use those very much. They don't give a lot of XP, and it's usually not worth the law root and teleport there. As I'm progressing through a cycle, as I craft these things, I type the cycle name in this column and then filter it out, because I'm only allowed to make each one of these things one time. So here you can see, I'll show you just the stuff I made this cycle. I made crude wooden chair down through oak altar, and I could even tell you how much XP I got here. I can automatically calculate that. 6,311 XP for construction, based on what I marked there. 6,347. I believe the difference there is from the steel torches, because I don't have that on this list because I'm never going to be making steel torches in the future. So yeah, that's how I track construction from cycle to cycle. I wipe these out at the beginning of the cycle, and then I type in the new cycle number whenever I make one of these things, and I do in fact only make one of each of these. My shop buyout tracker is not very clean, but basically I just highlight stuff in red if I've completely bought out the stock on something. And then I mark chunks like this one. I should probably mark Unca. Yeah. Shops in completed chunks where I'm able to buy out their stock repeatedly. I try to keep track of that. But I go ahead and I notate, which chunks I've completely bought out their stock in. I actually forgot to buy out the bronze bar stock in Shantae. I should be doing that every cycle. I'm recording this before starting the next chunk, so there's nothing stopping me from just doing that right now. Let me log into the game and do that real quick. That's why we have a spreadsheet. All right, so real quick before this chunk actually completes, I'm going to run over to Ruins of Unca and buy out the bronze bars and the bowls of water. There's a lot to keep track of in this mode. I should probably make sure that I make a note for that. One of the things I'm going to try to do here is add more notes to my task tracker, because it's getting increasingly difficult for me to just remember, oh, I accidentally over-pickpocketed farmers and I need to reduce that on the next cycle. So I'm going to start making cycle-specific notes to myself, like, hey, stop pickpocketing one farmer early. When you go to the shop, make sure you buy out the bronze bar stock, that kind of a thing. All right, here at the Shantae Guard, I'm just going to buy 5 and then hop, and then buy 5 and then hop. Okay, cool, done. I'm not going to worry too much about the feather packs. I'm going to wait until I have significantly more money to start buying out those stocks. There's enough between the Shantae store and the fishing store that I should be okay on that. And I guess I should make a ruling on the Shantae store, since I just rode the Shantae Pass chunk. Is this the same shop as the Shantae Pass shop? I think we're going to have to make that determination based on whether they share a stock. Like if I buy out the bronze bars here and immediately go over to Shantae Pass, if they're bought out at the Shantae Pass shop, then they're shared and I can't tap them out separately. But if they're treated, they have completely different stocks. If I can buy out this one and there's still 10 in the other one, then I can treat them as two separate shops and buy from them separately, I think. Let's go back to the spreadsheet. Right, back here on the sheet. So yeah, I updated the bronze bar total to 20, bought out chunk 33 and 34, 20, bought out chunk 33 and 34. I use other things to keep track of resetting every cycle. So this is what I do every cycle to get started for a new one. And then nothing else on here is terribly interesting. I don't think I've actually updated the Clue Scrolls tab for a while. So yeah, just showing this off. I'll try to show this every now and then, you know, just to let you know that I am in fact working on trying to clear out excess kills and the like. You'll see more on that next episode. Thanks for coming to my spreadsheet talk. Bye, everybody. It was fun. See you next time.